What's going on, world? What's going on, Japan? What's going on, gamers? So we have some inside intel here about Ubisoft call scripts when customers call and what you're supposed to be telling them. It reveals a lot of stuff why the Japanese male was not chosen to represent his history in this game, why Yasuke was put in place, and why Neo was put in place. Like they're still pushing something that you wouldn't believe that they're pushing. So y'all stick around for this. This is a long one. It's a really good one. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So we're gonna get right into this. Like, subscribe, let me know what y'all think. I ain't going nowhere with this. As soon as there's information coming up, we're getting right on this. But this one is very interesting when you find out why the Japanese male was not chosen and why things are going on. And there are some things that, of course, we already knew, but the fact that they're pushing this call script for people that call and want to ask questions, it's just unbelievable. So let's go ahead and get into this.
Demion, and I've gotten some more insider scoops on Ubisoft in regards to Assassin's Creed Shadows, and there's been some more public updates in terms of what's going on with this dumpster fire as well that I'll cover here too. I'll also dip a bit into Spider-Man 2 news, but this is mostly a Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed video. Okay, let's begin. I reported aplenty already. I told you how Yasuke was allegedly based on the Black Lives Matters protest, and how Skull and Bones costed upwards of $850 million to make over 10 years, and yet it still failed. To put it simply, Ubisoft is not in a good place at all right now. Now there's been some more information I've been given that I found pretty interesting. To start, I was given a call script from someone who works at Ubisoft showing how Ubisoft wants their employees who work at their call centers to answer the questions. These call scripts are not uncommon to be used at pretty much any and all call centers. They're company-approved answers to what the company assumes will be the most often asked questions by their consumers. Like if someone asks, hey, what comes in the package for this item if I buy it? The employee can then just read the description via the call sheet word for word, and then that way the customer is left satisfied. Anyway, like I said, Ubisoft allegedly now has a new call script that they sent out to their employees that work with ensuring their customers' feedback out, and are there other features related to Yasuke. If the customer asks about release dates or anything info game related to Yasuke, the employee would respond with this via the call sheet. The official release date for Assassin's Creed Shadows is March 15th, 2025. In addition to Yasuke, the game will include various side quests that explore different aspects of his life and relationships with other characters. Would you like any further details on the game's features or the pre-order options? Already we got some new info here, March 15th, 2025 as a potential release date. I asked my source about this further. They said it's a placeholder date as Ubisoft currently doesn't believe they will be able to hit their...
So if that happens, it'll say a lot about this information right here being confirmed. March 15, 2025. So delayed out of February even farther. That's possible. We're going to find out.
February 2025 release date. Remember that there's a strike going on right now with around 700 employees across France and Italy. We don't know if it's still going on 100%. It was planned for only 3 days, but this definitely impacted things for obvious reasons. Regardless, as I'm told, March 2025 is a placeholder date. It'll be the next date they will announce if February can't be hit. But keep in mind, this date could change as this date currently is from the script that isn't 100% finalized yet. So it could release even further on in the year for all we know. Next, the call script tells the employees what to say if the caller asks about Yasuke not being historically accurate to the game, to which the employee operator is meant to say this. Caller, I've read some claims that the portrayal of Yasuke in the game is not historically accurate. How do you respond to that? Operator, I understand your concern, and it's great to see players engaging critically with the narrative. While we aim for historical authenticity...
So y'all saw that? The script is true. While we aim for historical... Once again, this means historical accuracy, by the way. Authenticity.
Some creative liberties are taken to enhance the storytelling experience. We appreciate feedback from our community as it helps us to improve our future projects. Our goal is to honor Yasuke's legacy while providing an...
What legacy? What is that supposed to mean? Here we go with this again. Sounds like some stuff that Thomas Lockley did.
engaging gameplay experience. Is there a specific aspect of his portrayal you'd like for us to address?
Can't believe we're
As
still
you can
doing
see,
this.
the script is designed by the company to not exactly give clear answers to your questions, but just kind of sideline them with half answers. It's typical corporate gobbledygook that is doing
Yeah, it's called dancing around you.
its intended magic. Next, the call script details how to respond if someone is dissatisfied with Yasuke's representation in the game, to which the operator will then say, "Caller, I feel like Yasuke's character doesn't get enough development compared to others. Why is that?" Operator, thank you for sharing your thoughts. We strive to create a diverse cast of characters, and we understand that expectations can vary among players. Yasuke's storyline is designed to explore his unique experiences, and we are continuously working to ensure all characters are well developed. Your feedback is invaluable, and we'll take it into consideration as we continue to expand the Assassin's Creed universe. However,
His unique experiences. All characters are well developed. Yeah, no.
this next part I'm about to show you is where things get very
This
interesting.
is where it gets
Ubisoft
crazy.
then details what operators should say if a caller asks why did they choose Yasuke over a Japanese protagonist. The reply then says, "Caller, why did you choose to feature Yasuke instead of a traditional Japanese character in the game?" Operator, that's a great question. We wanted to highlight the diversity of historical narratives and bring attention to lesser-known figures like Yasuke who played significant roles in history. By featuring Yasuke,
Let's stop right there. That's a great question. We wanted to highlight the diversity. That is right there. Of historical narratives. And bring attention to lesser known figures. Like, what the? Let me not cuss. What does that have to do with us getting a historical, authentic Japanese game? This is not historical authentic, along with the other things. You see, their statements are backfiring. Who played significant roles in history. Here we go again with that. You know what that means. The legendary samurai nonsense, all that made up garbage that Thomas Lockley did. By featuring Yasuke, we aim to explore themes of identity. Here we go. Look. Diversity, narrative, identity.
we aim to explore themes of identity and belonging in a rich cultural context. Our
belonging in a rich cultural context. So Africa's not rich. Your world is not rich. You're poor and you're a slave. I'm gonna be real. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it like they are. So we want to make you feel better by putting you in the Japanese quality and putting you in their history and disrespecting the Japanese male. Right? Let's be real, because we don't sugarcoat over here. We get right to the truth. We look at your culture as poor. You still kill and murder like the hip hop beats, putting a stolen item on them, killing people. And we're going to do that in front of the Japanese with you. And we're going to cause problems between y'all. And we're doing this on purpose because that's what liberals do. That's what the Democratic Party does. That's what the Communist Party does, right? There it is, y'all. That says a lot. That's absolutely insane, and it annoys the hell out of me. And I just don't like them even more because of that. And they're still pushing this. So they were never going to fix it in that context that I was trying to tell certain people.
Goal is to provide players with a unique perspective that reflects the complexity of history. We believe that Yasuke's story adds depth to the game and contributes to a more inclusive representation of the past.
There it is again. Inclusive. DEI again. Diversity, equity, inclusive. Many times have we seen that already. Complexity of history, right? You didn't do anything. His story adds depth. Come on, man. This is absolutely stupid.
Yeah, this part is a big reason why I wanted to share this with you guys, because what the fresh hell is Ubisoft talking about here? They want to explore themes of identity and belonging in a rich cultural context. So they openly admit in their call script that they put Yasuke on purpose to pander and explore his identity within Japanese culture because he's black. Also, this doesn't really make any sense. Highlight the diversity of
Meaning, this is their world. The black is used as the slave and the chessboard piece to be the forefront of all their wrongs. And the people who are going to get the better experiences are the trans and the gay people and the white liberals who are getting paid, with all the other people behind them in power. See, this is their agenda, the whole DEI woke world. Black gets the lessons of it. They get stuck on sinking ships. They're used by the wrong means to disrespect other people because they think of them the less, but they're going to make them feel like they're using them in a good way and that they're benefiting them, but they're not. It goes all the way back to the civil rights nonsense, and you're still in ghettos today because this is what they do. They're masters of victimizing people, and that the people in their world who are part of their culture, the Baphomet culture, are the gays and the trans. So it's the blacks, the gays, the trans, and all these twisted ideologies, and you're going to attack the Caucasian male, the creator, the good Caucasian male principles and worlds that are all beautiful and wonderful and makes everybody else's lives better, and you're going to attack the Japanese and the Asians after that. So this is who their enemies are. These are the Jews' enemies. These are the Communist Party's enemies. These are the liberals' enemies. You see, these people are against humanity. So there you have it. That's Babylon for you. That's the Baphomet for you, and that's the underworld.
Of historical narratives and bring attention to lesser known figures like Yasuke. So the whole point of his implementation was that they went out of their way to put a minority character into a setting that they're not from on purpose. This backs up what I was told about Ubisoft's decisions back in 2020, that they heel turned the entire game's direction during the Black Lives Matter protests and decided to implement
What does that have to do with Japanese history?
Yasuke in order to pander to what they believed would become the
What does that have to do with East Africa?
dominating social zeitgeist, if you will, for the next decade or so.
Same people.
Basically, Yasuke was implemented by Ubisoft to capitalize on the social causes created by the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement. You think you hate some companies, but you really don't hate them enough. The worst part of this call script here is that they say Yasuke was implemented to contribute to a more inclusive representation of the past. That sentence is genuinely baffling, and I am shocked that it made it past Ubisoft's higher-ups and their HR and PR teams into this prototype script. Maybe once this video goes live, they will see this and then change this specific part of their answer because it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. So I don't mince words here, and so everyone understands, what exactly is inclusive representation? According to Google, it means representation is inclusive here in the sense that those who are represented adopt a language that is not their own, but which nevertheless allows them to make their...
Yeah, but we see they were writing Japanese and somehow no Japanese right in the trailer. It's just so stupid.
Their views heard in the political arenas from which they were excluded. So Yasuke was implemented by Ubisoft within Shadows because they wanted that era of history to be depicted through the eyes of someone who would be an inclusive figure within the historical context of this time. To put this into perspective, it would be like making another game set during the French Revolution, like in Assassin's Creed Unity, if you will, but instead of following an actual French character with ties to that moment of time, they instead made a random Chinese character the main character. Because this way, you're seeing the French Revolution through the eyes of what Ubisoft and their partners believe would be an inclusive viewpoint over that of a native one. So they pretty much confirmed that they went with Yasuke on purpose because of what his presence means for the game and its narrative going forward. They had no interest in depicting a Japanese Assassin's Creed game solely from the perspective of native Japanese people. Instead, they twisted,
which is not historically accurate,
and pulled every lever they could find in order to ensure this game could be used as a
way to ruin a great game and blow the biggest opportunity to make the best Assassin's Creed ever with the finest art and everything.
Social message to promote inclusivity and representation within a setting that had basically zero mentions of said inclusivity existing or being relevant to the actual historical context of that time period. Because remember, based on the only actual records we have of this Yasuke character, he was brought by Jesuits to Japan as a slave. He was then bought by Oda Nobunaga, who then called him Yasuke.
You see that, like, he can read Japanese. No, this is the type of stuff that's retarded. It's like you weren't even there longer than a year or 15 months. You can't read Japanese. You're not a samurai. And you don't know karate, which they had to. It's absolutely stupid.
And then made him carry tools and forced him to dance like a pet for Oda's guests during parties.
That's what he was.
Oda then died by seppuku after Akechi Mitsuhide, his general, betrayed him, and then Yasuke was then caught by Akechi and then given back to the Jesuits, never to be heard from again.
Yes, and you know what? It says a lot about when he did catch him and give him back. It's because when he looked at him, he was like, "You're just a dumb slave." That's the mentality. Um, I don't take you serious as a samurai, and I'm not cruel. If they were as cruel as certain these people tried to say, he would have just killed him. Why didn't he kill him? See, it's not like that. No, it's intelligent and there's an honor to the samurai world. When they took down Nobunaga, he was like, okay, it's done. His conscience was there. He didn't just say, oh, kill him right there. Racist. Well, kill him then, right? But he didn't do that because they're not racist like that. They actually have problems between each other. They couldn't have possibly went outside their culture and left their culture. You couldn't. And go do slave trading or any of that. That's not what happened. What he did is he was like, get out of here. You know what I mean? You don't belong in this world. We don't, you know what I mean? You're not a threat and I don't take you serious. So that just gives you that idea. And then there's also over 60 historical documents in Japan that tells you that he wasn't a samurai and you know, he didn't fight anyone. He didn't do any of that. He was just a pet, a dancing pet. And they did some little sumo wrestling, whatever, but he wasn't anything, like he didn't do anything for Japan at all. You know what I mean? He couldn't. You know, what was he going to do? So the documents that Thomas Lackley and Ubisoft were going based off were the Jesuits documents. They didn't want people to use the Japanese documents. They wanted them to use the written Jesuit document, which is a modified document to tell a lie. It's not the history of Japan. If you want to know the history of Japan, go to Japan. You know what I mean? Or talk to them. They'll tell you. But they weren't using their documents. They were using Rome's documents.
Objectively speaking, based on what we actually have on this supposed historical figure, he genuinely accomplished nothing of resonance within Japan before he just disappeared forever. He didn't fight anyone, he didn't own a castle or anything, and he certainly was not an actual samurai in a full suit of armor, you know, acting out Oda's wishes. Clearly, based on his actual historical info that we have to work with, Oda likely saw Yasuke as more of a pet, if you will, than an actual person. I hate to say it that way, but
no, it's
that's
just the
how
truth.
It was. We can't mince words.
It's just like I said, the way Akechi looks at him. It says in the documents he looked at him as some dumb slave who didn't know what he's doing. He didn't even belong there, so get out of here. So he had pity on him. There's only 2 pages on the documents. Literally, they're making up all this other stuff.
Words or attempt to act like we have to apply current day 2024-esque racial policies onto a time period when such concepts and laws were clearly not in effect during that time. It would be like going back to when slaves were owned in America and then saying that we need to expose them on TikTok for being racist. It just doesn't make any sense, and that argument or solution has no basis being included in said argument or time period. For obvious reasons, as you know. That being said, that's essentially what Ubisoft has done here pretty much. They took someone who objectively did nothing but get caught and then bought by a Japanese guy, then got caught by another Japanese guy, and then got brought back to the Jesuits and then turned them into a samurai master superhero all of a sudden for inclusivity reasons. And this was all done in order to, like I said, inject 2024 current day modern inclusive talking points and virtue signaling into a period of time when such things clearly did not exist.
That's right.
It's like if someone someday wrote a story where 2 women were openly lesbian in America during the 60s. And they also didn't hide it, yet no repercussions were placed upon them either. Such a story would make no sense in terms of believability, especially if they weren't hiding it, because gay relationships were outlawed in most places only until mere decades ago, especially in America. What I really dislike about this way of storytelling is that these writers and companies are taking what are clearly stories that exist within one specific cultural context, and then they are stripping it of said nuance and believability, and then replacing it with current day nonsense. It doesn't really work because not only is it not believable, it is just simply not true. Like the lesbians in the 60s, they would be socially outcasted and have whatever jobs they did have taken from them. They would be made examples of because during that time, such relationships were obviously not allowed. between women or men, by the way. For example, in
Mm-hmm.
Canada, you could tell a lesbian love story in the 60s as long as it was post 1967 if they were open about it. Because by that point, Bill C-150 had already passed that decriminalized and allowed same-sex activity in public. However, if you're able to tell that story in America during the same time, it would not work. Because in America anyway, prior to 2003, same-sex couples being open about it was looked down upon or even considered unlawful or illegal in about 14 different US states and even places like Puerto Rico at the time too. Why I'm telling you all of this is because these things genuinely matter if and when you want to go back and tell stories during such time periods. Having Yasuke being implemented in this role that he was not in during this time period is not being done for historical reasons.
That's
It's
right.
simply being done to pander to current day nonsense by sacrificing the historical context around that same time period. Could Yasuke have been allowed to walk around in Japan during this time? Yes, technically. Oda died in 1582, which is right around the time when Yasuke would have been sent back by Akechi to the Jesuits. However, let's say if Ubisoft or any other decided to tell a story about a foreigner in Japan post 1600 to around 1868, it would then not make any sense. Because during 1603 to 1868, Japan was under a foreign policy law called Sakoku, which meant chained country. It was a law brought into fruition that did not allow anyone from the outside world to enter Japan or have relations such as trade either. It was also forbidden for Japanese people to leave their home country as well during this time too. So you see, the more you look into the actual historical context of the world, there's so many laws and regulations of what could or couldn't happen during these time periods, and it's important if you want to tell an authentic story during these times. I don't know how far Shadow's story goes yet, but if it ends anywhere near 1603, well, then we're gonna have a problem with Yasuke still being allowed in Japan, but I digress. It just saddens me that Ubisoft took what could have been a very interesting setting for a Japanese Assassin's Creed game like this, and just effectively doomed it into oblivion, all because some liberal arts weirdos there wanted their Black Samurai game during a time that didn't have it or even mention said historical figure to even engage in such acts. It would be like making a movie about Cleopatra, but they depict her as some kind of military genius who won wars, when in reality that wasn't even the case, and she actually left any actual war efforts during her time to her male counterparts instead. I really dislike this twisting of history that a lot of people are doing at some of these companies.
Yeah.
It's so moronic, and it just shows that deep down they don't actually care about history or the importance of authenticity when it comes to these stories that they want to tell.
No, they just want to take authentic history and twist it and put their weird nonsense in it. Like I said, it's like injecting a bad parody, and we know where bad parodies come from. It's pretty quite clear who this is. With his weird cult.
They just, quite literally, want to put a chick in it and make her lame and gay, or in this case, put a Black Samurai in it because it'll make their ESG score go burr, I guess. And damn, I ranted for a while here about this part. I still got more of the call script to go, so let's look at that too. As you can see, they lie further in this third part, where the Ubisoft operator is meant to tell the caller that Yasuke was a skilled warrior and samurai during this time, but again, that's not true at all. The guy never fought in any battles, he just carried tools. Yet again, more creative liberties are being taken here solely to push inclusivity during a game set in historical reality. Then there's this part of the call script that lies to the caller again, where the caller asks about Yasuke's historical background during the second half of the script. And the operator is meant to say that Yasuke was a real person who arrived in Japan during the late 16th century, that he served under the famous warlord Oda Nobunaga and is often regarded as the first foreign samurai.
Yeah, okay.
His story is woven into the game's narrative, offering players a unique perspective on this fascinating historical figure. He wasn't a samurai. Again, they're lying, and they're now making their call operators lie to customers too. I hate it here, man, but this is why I gotta do these videos, because otherwise the lies just run rampant like this. Yet again, in the final part of this call sheet, like here, I'll just read it to you, and you will know exactly when this turns sour by listening. If the caller asked why Naoe was chosen as a character instead of a male shinobi, caller, why did you choose to feature Naoe as a female shinobi instead of a male character? Operator, we wanted to create a diverse and inclusive narrative that reflects the complexities of history.
There it is again. Same thing.
Including the stories of women who fought against societal norms. By featuring Naoe, we aim to showcase her unique perspective and the strength required to navigate her role as a shinobi in a male-dominated world.
Shinobi in a male-dominated world. Guys, what does that tell you about this agenda right now? Woman, non-binary, trans, gay, and then of course the colored person. I cannot believe that they made it that clear to us. When I see that male-dominated principle, that's feminism right there. What does that have to do with the accuracy of this? And shinobis, I didn't know that that's what Japanese women were doing. That's all fake. It doesn't exist.
This choice allows
Those are Japanese ninjas. That's not female ninjas. They did not go to war. This is all bullshit.
players to engage with a character who embodies courage and defiance. So just like Yasuke, they deliberately chose Naoe to be a woman only because of inclusivity within that time period. Their words, not mine by the way, I am just reading you what it says. The fact they state that she was chosen solely to display her courage and defiance in a male-dominated world is rich of them too. Because Japan was easily one of the most strict places in history when it came to laws and traditions. Disobeying such codes would immediately lead to self-deletion depending on the severity of the crime at hand. Naoe, also, according to what I could gather from research, would not have actually been a shinobi likely at all during this period either.
No.
Apparently, and I could be wrong, so correct me, but from what I gathered, the term of a female shinobi, or as they're referred to as kuno-ochis, I'm probably saying that wrong, but they were apparently fake, and they were only brought into Japanese pop culture during the last 100 years or so of our time. They were popularized by a book series known in Japan as Nimpocho by Yamada Futaro. I mean, it's pretty damning that every single piece of information I could find confirms that kuno-ochis did not exist at all. Even via Wikipedia for female shinobis, it says this. Recent research by Mie University historians Yuji Yamada, Katsuya Yoshimaru, and others indicates that there are no historical records of the existence of female ninja who conducted reconnaissance and subversive activities in the same manner as their male counterparts. According to Yoshimaru, kuno-ochi came to mean female ninja in the creative works largely due to the influence of Futaro Yamada's Nimpocho series. During the Edo period, kunochi was used as a cant term to refer to a woman and had no meaning for a female ninja. However, the term has very few examples of usage, mostly likely because the writing style at the time was not composed of the three strokes attributed to kuno-ochi. So sorry if I had to break this to you, but yeah, female ninjas never actually existed within Japan's history ever, according to historical documents. They were—
No, the Japanese male went to war. That's why I said this is just all bullshit.
Unfortunately just popularized by Japanese novelist writers to make compelling stories. And hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, I like the idea of a female ninja who uses her beauty to charm her targets. It's a good concept for a story. But unfortunately—
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they do it in animes all the time. You know, you have awesome female interpretations. It's engaged. It's okay if it's a game, it's a fantasy, you know what I mean? But when you're trying to, like, disrespect somebody's history and culture doing that, and then she's not even considered Japanese. She'd be considered like a Chinese modified Japanese, you know what I mean? And made in cahoots with Yasuke, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's just stupid. Idiots, man.
Fortunately, no, it isn't real. And again, I'm not pushing that to play some sort of gotcha on anyone who likes the idea either. I too think it's a cool concept, but that's all they are. They're a concept. This means that neither Yasuke nor Naoe are based on actual things that happened during the time period that they existed. Naoe would not have been a shinobi assassin at all during this time, even worse knowing that Ubisoft deliberately went out of their way to make her the daughter of Fujibayashi Nagato, who was an actual real famous shinobi of that time. Well, it's ridiculous.
Let's see, who mixes truth with lies? Every culture has an entity, right, that does that? Yeah, I think we all know.
It's a very weird gray area, I know, because had Ubisoft just made Naoe a hidden one, but she had no actual ties to shinobi or anything like that,
that's better.
Was, I don't know, trained outside of Japan or something, then I guess that gray area would work for her character to exist in this time period. But the problem is that Ubisoft took what was arguably one of the strictest countries in the world during a time where said laws were impossible to resist, And not only that, but also a time period where so much historical data is available that we know for a fact that these two main characters would not exist as they were depicted. Making Naoe a shinobi immediately makes her nothing but feminist fan fiction, and her
Exactly.
character would have either likely been a farmer if real or something else. She would not have known how to wield those weapons or assassinate people or anything like that. And so now with added context, when you look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, you are seeing a deliberate double trouble misfire of characters that have zero business being anywhere close to where they are or what they're even doing.
That's
So if
right.
anyone tries to disprove you in the future, just tell them that female ninjas didn't exist at all. And then if they don't,
So that's pretty much it on this. He's gonna go into some other game, but there we have it, y'all. Very crazy stuff right here. More stuff to get exposed for people who wanna, try to defend this nonsense. It's like none of it's real. It's all fake. He wasn't no samurai. She wasn't no shinobi. They're doing everything wrong here, and they're still pushing this, and now they're lying to people now in the present with these script calls. So, bringing you more stuff again, as always. Glad to do this. Glad to bring more evidence for Japan. Like I said, like, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. We're far from being done with this. Let's see if it gets delayed past February. Just more ways to farm them and put them in their place. We're genuine over here. That's what they're allowing us to do, and we're exposing them and doing the right thing. So, yeah, this will shape the future of Assassin's Creed to be better, and hopefully things change for the better. But right now, I'm very annoyed because, like I said, this is the biggest opportunity to make one of the most epic ninja games of all time, and they blew it. Peace out, y'all.